This is author A.H. Scott. I'm about to read to you an excerpt from my novel, Over My Head. A brief description. In the aftermath of Lawrence and Angela Chase reuniting in Love's Lake, a certain event takes place which will change their lives forever. Excerpt. Larry's climax with Angela that evening was a resurgence of their marriage. Her husband, in his actions and whispers of tenderness, had given her forgiveness. As Angela slept, Lawrence Chase awakened at 5:45 on Thursday morning. Softly rolling out of their bed of warm joy, a fateful decision took him to an unlikely locale. Volvo rolled around empty streets of Eau Claire as he couldn't get over what she'd done for him. Angela sacrificed herself to a snake, all for Lawrence. Time to repay that favor seemed more rapid than even this wounded husband would ever have thought before. Pulled by an unseen force into the vicinity of Luther Hospital, that silver vehicle made a slow rolling stop in front of an average 2-story home. Walking from the front entrance to its back door of the kitchen, a sinking feeling came over this man. The distinctive attic window of octagonal shape belonged to Nicholas Bell. Rapping right hand against door pane, Larry awaited for this home's owner to respond from within. Almost 5 minutes passed, and Nick opened the door with a yawn and a crumb of frustration at this uninvited visitor. Whining, as he always did in Bell's presence, Chase was given entry after a few more seconds outside. Telling him it was important to speak at that early hour, Nicholas's defense was down, and he was alone, without colleagues, Esposito and Mendoza. As both men walked into that kitchen, meek man of numbers became sheltering spouse. Larry the loser chose the moment to gain a lion's spine. Too bad for Nick. It would be he who would receive the first taste of a husband's balled-up fist. Once, in the right eye, leaving it red. Secondly, in his swarmy mouth, causing a lip to bleed. Prompt and precise, these punches hit the apt targets. Blue eyes of Bell winked and seduced to many a female. As for those pearly whites, he conversed ever so sweetly to those of the opposite sex. 2 times, against Nicholas's face, came to optimize the duo of reasons for this attack. Primarily, never fathoming Nick wielding that debt with a swordsman's precision in seducing his wife. Lawrence had to take the lead in protecting Angela. Lastly, those bruised knuckles on a right fist were a sign of Chase's recaptured manhood being optimized to its full potency. "Stay away from my Angela." Holding still stinging hand in a balled position, Larry Chase was quite shocked at his own blistering rage at this man who'd forced her into a disgusting relationship. In an inebriated state of his courageous actions in this kitchen, He stumbled out of that door. Each step closer to that parked car became more and more steady, with thoughts of being valiant on Angie's behalf. In some ways, Larry was making an attempt of sacrificing his own civility to repay the trading of sloughed flesh to Nick. Licking those wounds, Nick sat in that kitchen in stunned silence. The man who had been the butt of several of Belle's jokes amongst he and his friends became a coiled cobra of painful blows. Wincing from a few wipes of a moist towel to his eye, he had no idea that Angela and Lawrence had made love just hours earlier. At that point, Nicholas Bell was as in the dark about the state of their relationship as Lawrence Chase had been to his hot and heavy humping with Angie. Healing those wounds, Nick knew Angie was the person who revealed their relationship to Larry. She wouldn't get off that hook of responsibility so easily by sicking her husband on him. Dragging himself upstairs into the dark office, Bell sat behind a desk, flicking on a lamp. A drawer with photos of Angie was pulled open. As he gazed down at those photos, another item caught his good eye. Blue lace panties of Mrs. Lawrence Chase, laid in a small bundle. Filling that office with a loud scoff, Nick tossed them onto the desk and walked out of his office. He needed to clear his head before rage set in. Taking a long shower, Bell, dressed in jeans, white shirt, and dark blue blazer. Beginning to leave home, he walked past that dimly lit office. Warm glow of lamplight left that blue item with a slight glow of gravitation to him. He shoved them into a jeans pocket. Getting behind the wheel of that red car, Nicholas Bell drove around town thinking about what just happened in his kitchen. For a man who thrived on control, what Angie had done to him took the ropes of destiny out of those skillful hands. 7:48 a.m. read on a car clock as he saw Lawrence Chase's car outside of Gardenia Gardens restaurant. Confrontation with this man had to be brief and exacting by Nick. Parking car, he walked with determination in steps and flexing fingers into this restaurant. Entering, a disturbing sight befell him. Nick had Larry in the crosshairs, but the person who was sitting with Chase left him in a state of disbelief. There sat Larry and Angie, acting like two lovey-dovey high schoolers in hormonal heat. It was as if every moment of sweaty tangles he and she shared never happened. Nicholas Bell had to drop reality on their plate. A most unpleasant way it crystallized. Speaking of punches, he had one of his own for this happy couple in Gardenia Gardens. Trophy snatch is what Nick held, and he let this factor coming to vivid life for an unsuspecting Larry. Angela and Lawrence sat at a table next to a plate-glass window that faced the courtyard with tables and chairs outside. She nibbled on toast with a spoonful of apple butter. Her husband's appetite for food was fulfilled with a blueberry muffin and 2 poached eggs. Flirting with one another, mutual warmth wraps around them at their table. Playfully offering some food, Angie gave him a taste of her toast, topped with apple butter. "I know you'd like mine," she giggled, as he took her up on that sweet offer. Not having been overly affectionate in public, Larry kissed his wife, and they actually began to cuddle. As this romantic notion of bliss exuded from this married couple, 5 to 6 other customers nodded at them in affirmation of those jovial actions. Angie didn't know of her husband's journey to Nick's home. All that Lawrence told his waking wife was he'd made reservations at the restaurant for breakfast. Manifestation of an affair between Nicholas Bell and Angela Chase came with the toss of those lace panties onto that finely lined table. The owner of the 8-Ball and Tulip stood with his back to the customers who were sitting about 15 feet from them. "I think you'll be needing these back, Larry." Taken out of a jeans pocket, blue lace landed onto white satin. "She didn't need them when she was with me," giving Chase's captivating wife a look of cutting concession. "But I guess you want to contain that kitty cat now." "Nick, you bastard!" Gleeful glow evaporated with her eyes on those panties. Nick made no bones about his intentions of how this dialogue would travel to completion. "Ah, that isn't what you said when you were bouncing up and down on my cock a while back," reminding this suddenly stunned female about their carnal grinding in several locations. A swirl of shame surrounded her in a low gasp. Jesus. Larry banged hand onto table. An angry husband came to his spouse's defense. "You come here and say this to her and to me?" Body began rising from that upholstered chair. Angie clutched his arm. "Lawrence, don't!" She pulled Larry back into that chair with both hands. "What are you gonna do, huh, Larry? You can't even fuck your own wife." An amphibious smirk filled his face while turning eyes to her. And with sweet Angie grinning over memories of this female's dip in passion's pond. "She's a firecracker if you got the right match." "Nick, go away." Cradling Larry's shaking hand tightly, she expressed a heightened concern for her husband. "Larry, are you okay, baby?" Longing for more oxygen, Chase began grasping a dark brown tie. "I'm all right." Grateful for Angela's caring, he patted her hand. "Hey, calm yourself down, Larry," motioning hand to Chase in a wave. "I don't think you realize how much a good diplomat your little wifey is there," speaking as a fortunate being who sampled those soft petals of Angela's. "That debt you owed me?" Nick gave a carefree shrug. That was paid off many sweaty moments ago. Larry and Angie both looked at this man with bewilderment on their faces, which Belle focused to clarity. So, when little Miss Marker, snidely smiling, tells you that she was under such duress in doling out those assets to make your 250 to turn to dust, Belle paused and slipped a few more twigs of information onto this fire. Ask yourself this one. Why would Office Carter need to wiggle around in the mud with a pig like me? Raising eyebrows to that statement, when you and I both know she has more than enough access to that green. That's not the way it happened. Angela refuted this interpretation of events between them. Larry, look at me. I'm the one with the black eye. Right jaw was rubbed slightly. And bloody lip. If it was the way Angie is telling you that this tangle went down. Nick paused and made a downward view. Why are they laying on your plate? Larry, don't listen to him. Those soft hands held onto her husband's arm. Oh, come on, Angela. Slightly shaking head back and forth. You lie like the rug in my office. Tiny tittering over what he decided to disclose. Speaking of which, attention turned to Larry. Do you remember when you came to my office and talked to me about not wanting to tell Angie just how much you fucked up with those bets, Larry? Nick, what are you doing? Caught off guard by the twist in this conversation, Angela wondered out loud. Angela, please. Assuring her that he wouldn't do anything uncivilized in a public place, Larry gently tapped Angie's tender hand. Let me hear what he has to say. She arrived about 15 minutes before you barged into my office, casually picking up a blue linen napkin and wiping it on bruised lip. I think Angie was wearing a red blouse and white skirt. Blue cloth touched lip once again and gazed at droplets of blood. Well, that isn't what I really remembered. She had on this hot powder blue bra, and her nipples were just darting against that cotton. That tight white skirt was rolled up her thighs. Sigh of a July afternoon's interlude filled the air. Nicholas Bell took a deep breath. Going through those erotic events? Well, she stepped out of her panties and unzipped my fly. Smile formed. A smooch. She's so attentive, Larry. You know what I mean? Speaking as a man who is able to relate in having one's appetite fulfilled by Angela, particulars pushed further. I was just about to do her, right there on my office carpet, when all of a sudden, I hear your voice outside. Angela Chase was in the archer's sights as Nick's arrow pierced those balloons she so successfully hypnotized her husband with. She didn't run, Lawrence. She didn't call out to you to save her from big, bad me. The wolf's teeth retreated in a snickering fashion. She got on her knees and crawled under my desk. Clearing throat, he wanted to do the same to that air around himself. You do remember that afternoon, Angie, don't you? Angela's tight mouth murmured, "Bastard." "Well, when you came into my office, I was sitting behind my desk, right?" Belle wanted to take Chase back to that sunny Thursday in July. Tightrope of trust started to wobble beneath Larry as he looked at Angie. "Yes?" She looked up at me from behind my desk and whispered, mimicking Angela's soft tone, "Don't let him know I'm here." Turning back to normal voice, he gave the spouse a glimpse of naughtiness. "As you walked into my office, she was there with tits primed to be pumped and a skirt hiked up around her waist, spilling those stones of seduction. We were about to fuck, Larry, and you interrupted us. For those first couple of minutes you were there, my fly was still open and my cock was hard as a rock for her. I looked down and saw those lace panties by my right foot. Trophy of temptation came into view. I opened a drawer and shoved them inside." He decided to pull Lawrence into the light of what kind of a liar Angie was. "And as you kept blathering about your woes of life," with an ace of secrecy up his sleeve, Nick chuckled, "I finally got my fly closed and walked over to you and sat on the edge of my desk like nothing ever happened." Lawrence Chase remained an optimist even in this dark moment in time. And Angela was there all that time, hoping the response to this question would be a negative. After dropping that bomb of betrayal into this unsuspecting couple's laps, Nicholas Bell left the heavy lifting of an afternoon's affirmation of arousal to somebody else. Don't take my word for anything, Lawrence. Ask your wife. Angie, what he's saying. Lawrence Chase built up enough courage to sputter a most unpleasant inquiry of his beloved Angie. It didn't happen, did it? End of excerpt from A.H. Scott's Over My Head. If you'd like to know just what kind of lies and secrets are involved in my novel, pick it up and find out what happens to Angela Chase, Lawrence Chase, Nicholas Bell, and all the other characters in this steamy, sexy novel. Just 99 cents. From Smashwords, Amazon Worldwide, Barnes & Noble, iTunes. By the way, if you think this novel is just about sex, you haven't a clue what's going on. Over the edge, over a kiss, over my head. This has been A. Scott. Find yourself submerged in seduction sea. Go over my head with me.